1. Never invite the chronic complainer into your home. Imagine spending years building a peaceful life. You work hard every day. You make sacrifices. You carefully choose your habits. You learn to control your emotions. You create a home where you can rest from the noise of the world. Then one day, without realizing it, you begin allowing a certain person into that space. At first, they seem harmless. They are friendly enough. They enjoy conversation. They appreciate your hospitality. But after every visit, something feels different. The atmosphere becomes heavier. The energy in your home feels drained. The peace you worked so hard to create seems slightly disturbed. The person may not break anything with their hands, but they slowly damage something far more valuable. They damage the emotional environment of your home. This person is the chronic complainer. The ancient Stoics believed that peace was one of life's greatest treasures. Yet they also understood that peace is fragile. It can be influenced by the people we spend time with. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to protect his mind from unhealthy influences because thoughts shape character, and character shapes destiny. What many people fail to realize is that negative thinking can be just as contagious as a disease. Spend enough time around someone who constantly focuses on problems, and eventually you may begin to view life through the same lens. The danger is not immediate. It is gradual. That is why it often goes unnoticed until significant damage has already been done. There was once a man named Daniel who prided himself on maintaining a calm and welcoming home. His friends admired him because he always seemed balanced. Even during difficult situations, he remained patient and thoughtful. His home became a gathering place where people felt comfortable and respected. Guests often left feeling encouraged and inspired. Daniel believed that kindness meant keeping his door open to everyone. He never considered that some people could enter his home and slowly weaken the very peace he valued most. One afternoon, an old acquaintance named Victor reconnected with Daniel. At first, the reunion seemed pleasant. Victor appeared grateful for the opportunity to catch up. They shared stories, laughed about old memories, and enjoyed one another's company. Daniel was happy to help someone he had not seen in years. He invited Victor to visit again whenever he wished. It seemed like a simple act of friendship. Yet Daniel had no idea how much his life would gradually change because of that decision. During Victor's second visit, the conversation felt different. He spent most of the evening complaining about his employer. According to Victor, every manager he had ever worked for was incompetent. Every promotion he missed was unfair. Every challenge he faced was someone else's fault. Daniel listened patiently. After all, everyone needs support from time to time. He assumed Victor was simply going through a difficult period. Instead of judging him, Daniel offered encouragement and practical advice. Victor thanked him and promised to consider the suggestions. A week later, Victor returned. This time the complaints expanded. His neighbors were terrible. His friends were selfish. His family failed to understand him. The economy was broken. Society was declining. No matter what topic emerged, Victor found something negative to say. Daniel noticed that every conversation followed the same pattern. Problems were discussed endlessly, but solutions were ignored. Responsibility was avoided. Blame was placed on everyone except Victor himself. Months passed, and Victor became a regular visitor. What Daniel failed to notice was how these interactions affected him. After Victor left, Daniel often replayed the conversations in his mind. He found himself thinking about problems he had never considered before. Minor inconveniences seemed larger. Gratitude became less natural. Small frustrations lingered longer than usual. The negativity he absorbed during those visits followed him even after the front door had closed. The Stoics taught that we become like the things we repeatedly expose ourselves to. This principle applies not only to books, habits, and environments but also to people. Human beings naturally mirror the attitudes of those around them. If you spend time with courageous individuals, your courage grows. If you spend time with disciplined individuals, your discipline strengthens. Likewise, if you spend enough time around chronic negativity, negativity begins shaping your perspective. This transformation often occurs so slowly that you never notice it happening. One evening, Daniel's wife made an observation that surprised him. She told him their home felt different lately. Family conversations had become more focused on frustrations than gratitude. Small disagreements seemed more common. Everyone appeared more emotionally exhausted. Daniel initially dismissed her concerns. Yet as he reflected on her words, he realized she might be right. The atmosphere of the household had changed. What had once been a place of encouragement now felt noticeably heavier. The source of the problem became clear only after careful reflection. Victor was not creating difficulties through direct actions. He was influencing the emotional climate of the home through constant negativity. Every visit introduced another wave of complaints, criticisms, and pessimistic observations. Over time, these conversations shaped the mood of everyone around him. His negativity became a regular presence within the household. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses to them. Chronic complainers reject this principle. They focus endlessly on circumstances beyond their control while ignoring their own responsibility. They believe happiness depends on perfect conditions. As a result, they remain trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. No solution is ever enough because the habit of complaining has become part of their identity. The most dangerous aspect of a chronic complainer is not the complaints themselves. The real danger lies in their ability to normalize dissatisfaction. After enough exposure, constant negativity begins to feel ordinary. Gratitude becomes rare. Optimism appears unrealistic. Constructive thinking is replaced by criticism. The mind gradually adopts a worldview centered on what is wrong rather than what is possible. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he would encounter difficult people. Yet he also understood that he did not have to allow their attitudes to govern his mind. This distinction is important. Stoicism does not require us to hate difficult individuals. It requires us to maintain control over our own character despite their influence. Compassion and boundaries can exist together. You can care about someone while refusing to allow their negativity to dominate your personal space. Eventually, Daniel made a difficult decision. He did not abandon Victor. He did not insult him. He did not engage in arguments. Instead, he established boundaries. He limited the frequency of visits and redirected conversations toward solutions whenever complaints emerged. At first, Victor resisted. He preferred discussing problems rather than solving them. Yet Daniel remained firm. He understood that protecting his household was not selfish. It was necessary. Slowly, the atmosphere within the home began to improve. Conversations became more positive. Family members laughed more often. Gratitude returned. The peace that had gradually faded started to reappear. Daniel learned an important lesson. Not every person who enters your life deserves unlimited access to your personal space. Kindness does not require sacrificing your emotional well-being. Wisdom requires recognizing influences that strengthen your character and limiting those that weaken it. Perhaps you know someone like Victor. Maybe they are a friend, relative, coworker, or neighbor. Every interaction revolves around complaints. Every discussion becomes an opportunity to focus on what is wrong. If so, consider what effect they may be having on your life. Ask yourself an honest question. Do you feel stronger, wiser, and more peaceful after spending time with them? Or do you feel drained, frustrated, and emotionally exhausted? Your answer matters because your home is more than a building. It is the foundation of your daily life. It is where your mind recovers from stress and where your values are reinforced. The people you welcome into that environment have tremendous influence. Choose them wisely. Protect your peace carefully. And remember the Stoic lesson that has guided thoughtful individuals for centuries. Guard your inner world, because everything valuable in life begins there. 2. Never invite the gossip and secret spreader into your home. There is a type of person who rarely arrives carrying anything visible, yet they can leave behind more damage than someone carrying a weapon. They enter your home with a smile, a friendly voice, and an endless collection of stories. At first, they seem entertaining. They always know what is happening in other people's lives. They know who is arguing, who is failing, who is succeeding, who is hiding secrets, and who has made mistakes. Their conversations are filled with information that sounds fascinating. People often listen with curiosity, believing they are simply hearing harmless stories. But the Stoics would have recognized a hidden danger. A person who feeds on gossip does not bring wisdom into your home. They bring distrust, division, and unnecessary conflict. Marcus Aurelius believed that every word we speak should serve a purpose. He often reflected on the importance of truth, self-control, and integrity. Gossip stands in opposition to all three. It encourages speculation instead of understanding. It rewards judgment instead of compassion. Most importantly, it creates an atmosphere where trust becomes difficult to maintain. The problem is that gossip rarely appears dangerous in the beginning. Like many destructive habits, it arrives disguised as entertainment. There was once a woman named Sarah who took great pride in the atmosphere of her home. Friends often described her house as peaceful and welcoming. People felt comfortable sharing their thoughts because they knew they would not be judged. Conversations were meaningful. Relationships were strong. Sarah believed that respect and trust were the foundation of every healthy household. Because of this, she rarely worried about who she invited into her home. One day, Sarah became close friends with a woman named Linda. Linda was charming, confident, and exceptionally skilled at conversation. Whenever she visited, she seemed to have endless stories about people they both knew. At first, Sarah found these stories amusing. Linda always spoke with excitement, making every detail sound dramatic and important. She knew who was having relationship problems, who was struggling financially, and who had recently made embarrassing mistakes. Her stories captured attention instantly. During their first few meetings, Sarah thought little of it. After all, everyone talks about other people occasionally. Yet over time, a pattern emerged. Nearly every conversation involved someone else's private life. Rarely did Linda discuss ideas, goals, personal growth, or meaningful topics. Instead, she focused almost entirely on other people's flaws, mistakes, and secrets. If one story ended, another quickly replaced it. There was always fresh gossip available. At first, these conversations seemed harmless. Sarah listened politely and occasionally laughed at some of the more dramatic stories. However, she soon noticed something troubling. After Linda left, she often found herself thinking differently about people. Friends she once respected now seemed suspicious. Acquaintances she once trusted appeared less trustworthy. Without realizing it, Sarah was allowing gossip to shape her perceptions. Information she could not verify was influencing her opinions. The Stoics taught that wise individuals should be careful about what they allow into their minds. Just as unhealthy food affects the body, unhealthy conversations affect the character. Gossip trains the mind to focus on the weaknesses of others rather than the improvement of oneself. It encourages judgment without understanding and criticism without responsibility. Over time, these habits can become deeply rooted. Months passed, and Linda became a regular visitor. As her visits increased, something unexpected began happening within Sarah's circle of friends. Tension started appearing where none had existed before. Small misunderstandings grew into larger conflicts. People became more cautious about what they shared. Some friendships weakened entirely. Although no one could identify the exact cause, trust was slowly disappearing. One evening, Sarah hosted a small gathering at her home. The atmosphere was warm and friendly until Linda arrived. Within an hour, she had shared several stories about people who were not present. Some guests laughed. Others appeared uncomfortable. As the evening continued, Sarah noticed a change in the room. Conversations became guarded. People seemed reluctant to speak openly. It was as though everyone feared becoming the next subject of discussion once they left. That night, Sarah reflected on what she had observed. For the first time, she asked herself an uncomfortable question. If Linda was willing to discuss the private lives of so many people, what was she saying about her when she was absent? The realization was difficult to ignore. A person who regularly betrays the confidence of others cannot easily be trusted with your own confidence. Epictetus taught that character is revealed through actions rather than words. Anyone can claim to value loyalty. Anyone can claim to be trustworthy. Yet true character becomes visible through consistent behavior. Linda's behavior revealed a troubling truth. She treated other people's private lives as entertainment. Whether the stories were true or exaggerated hardly mattered. The habit itself demonstrated a lack of respect for boundaries. As time went on, Sarah began noticing additional consequences. Her home no longer felt quite as peaceful after Linda's visits. Instead of discussing meaningful ideas, conversations revolved around rumors and speculation. Family members occasionally repeated stories they had heard from Linda. Soon, discussions about personal growth were replaced by discussions about other people's mistakes. The emotional atmosphere of the home was changing. The Stoics believed that a wise person should focus energy on becoming better rather than criticizing others. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself to examine his own actions before judging anyone else. Gossip encourages the opposite approach. It distracts people from self-improvement by directing attention outward. Instead of asking, "How can I become wiser?" it asks, "What is wrong with someone else?" This shift in focus may seem small, but its consequences are profound. One afternoon, Sarah encountered a difficult situation that confirmed her concerns. A close friend approached her with visible disappointment. The friend explained that a private conversation they had shared months earlier had somehow become public knowledge. Several details had been repeated almost exactly as they had been spoken. Sarah immediately recognized what had happened. Information shared within her home had been carried elsewhere. The realization was painful. Trust had been broken, not because of malice or open hostility, but because someone viewed private information as material for conversation. In that moment, Sarah understood why the Stoics placed such importance on integrity. Without trust, relationships become fragile. Without trust, genuine connection becomes impossible. Rather than confronting Linda with anger, Sarah chose a Stoic response. She remained calm. She established clear boundaries. She stopped participating in gossip-driven conversations and redirected discussions toward meaningful subjects whenever possible. When private information was shared, she refused to engage. Most importantly, she became more selective about who she invited into her personal space. The results were remarkable. Over time, the atmosphere within her home improved. Conversations became more authentic. Friends felt comfortable speaking openly again. Trust slowly returned. The household regained the sense of peace that had gradually been fading. Sarah discovered an important lesson: protecting peace sometimes requires protecting privacy. Many people underestimate the damage gossip can cause because its effects are rarely immediate. Unlike a loud argument, gossip works quietly. It plants seeds of suspicion. It weakens trust. It encourages judgment. By the time the consequences become visible, significant damage may already have occurred. This is why wise individuals remain vigilant. They understand that every conversation contributes either to harmony or to division. Perhaps you know someone like Linda. They always seem informed about everyone else's life. They rarely discuss ideas, values, or personal growth. Instead, they thrive on rumors, secrets, and speculation. If such a person regularly enters your home, consider the influence they may be having. Ask yourself whether their presence strengthens trust or weakens it. Does the atmosphere improve after they leave, or does it become heavier? Stoicism teaches that peace is not created by accident. It is created through deliberate choices. One of those choices involves deciding which influences deserve a place within your home. A gossip may appear entertaining, but entertainment purchased at the expense of trust is never worth the cost. A wise person understands that protecting relationships requires protecting the integrity upon which those relationships depend. Your home should be a sanctuary of respect, honesty, and meaningful connection. It should be a place where people feel safe rather than exposed, valued rather than judged. The individuals you allow into that space contribute to its atmosphere. Choose them carefully. Because once trust is damaged, rebuilding it is far more difficult than protecting it in the first place. 3. Never invite the manipulator into your home. Of all the people who can disturb the peace of your home, none may be more dangerous than the manipulator. Unlike the chronic complainer, whose negativity is obvious, or the gossip, whose words eventually reveal their character, the manipulator often hides behind kindness, charm, and helpfulness. They rarely announce their intentions. They do not walk into your life carrying signs that warn you of danger. Instead, they arrive appearing trustworthy. They know exactly what to say, how to act, and how to make others feel comfortable. This is what makes them so difficult to recognize. By the time many people discover the truth, the manipulator has already gained influence over their emotions, decisions, and peace of mind. The Stoics believed that freedom was one of life's greatest blessings. However, they did not define freedom as the ability to do whatever you want. True freedom, according to Stoicism, is self-mastery. It is the ability to think clearly, act according to reason, and remain in control of your choices regardless of external pressure. A manipulator threatens this freedom because their goal is not mutual respect. Their goal is influence. They seek ways to shape your decisions for their own benefit. Sometimes they do this openly, but more often they do it subtly, making it difficult to notice until the pattern becomes obvious. There was once a man named Michael who valued peace above almost everything else. He worked hard to create a stable life for himself and his family. His home was a place where people felt safe, respected, and welcome. Friends often came to him for advice because he was calm and thoughtful. Michael believed in helping others whenever possible. He saw generosity as a strength and compassion as a responsibility. These qualities made him respected by many people. Unfortunately, they also made him vulnerable to the wrong kind of person. One day, Michael met a man named Ryan through a mutual friend. Ryan was charismatic, confident, and incredibly likable. He seemed to know exactly how to make people feel important. During their first conversation, he praised Michael's character, admired his success, and expressed gratitude for his friendship. Michael appreciated the kindness and quickly welcomed Ryan into his circle. There appeared to be no reason for concern. Ryan seemed genuine, respectful, and supportive. As the weeks passed, Ryan became a frequent visitor. He often shared stories about his struggles and challenges. Michael listened carefully and offered advice whenever possible. At first, this seemed like a normal friendship. Yet there was something unusual about Ryan's behavior. Every conversation somehow ended with Michael feeling responsible for solving Ryan's problems. If Ryan faced financial difficulties, Michael felt pressure to help. If Ryan encountered personal conflicts, Michael felt obligated to intervene. Gradually, Ryan positioned himself as someone who constantly needed support. The Stoics warned that emotions can cloud judgment when left unchecked. A manipulator understands this principle better than most people realize. They recognize that guilt, sympathy, fear, and obligation can influence decisions more effectively than logic. Rather than asking directly for what they want, they create situations that encourage others to volunteer. This allows them to appear innocent while still achieving their objectives. Months later, Michael noticed a troubling pattern. Whenever he declined a request, Ryan reacted with disappointment. He never became openly angry. Instead, he used subtle remarks designed to create guilt. He would say things like, "I thought friends were supposed to support each other," or, "I guess I know where I stand now." These comments seemed harmless on the surface, yet they carried emotional pressure. Michael often found himself agreeing to things he did not want to do simply to avoid feeling guilty. This is one of the most common tools manipulators use. They understand that many good people dislike conflict. They know that kind individuals often prioritize harmony over confrontation. By creating emotional discomfort, they encourage compliance. The victim believes they are making a free choice when, in reality, the choice is being influenced by carefully applied pressure. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should never surrender our judgment to the opinions or actions of others. Yet manipulation works by doing exactly that. It encourages people to abandon reason and act according to emotional pressure instead. A manipulator rarely says, "Do this because I want you to." Instead, they create circumstances that make refusal feel uncomfortable. They transform simple requests into emotional obligations. Over time, Ryan's demands increased. What began as small favors became larger commitments. He borrowed money more frequently. He requested assistance more often. He expected immediate attention whenever problems arose. Whenever Michael attempted to establish boundaries, Ryan responded with disappointment, guilt, or subtle criticism. The friendship no longer felt balanced. It felt one-sided. Yet Michael struggled to recognize the situation because Ryan never appeared openly hostile. One evening, Michael's wife pointed out something he had been avoiding. She asked a simple question. "When was the last time Ryan helped you?" Michael paused because he could not remember. Their friendship revolved entirely around Ryan's needs, Ryan's problems, and Ryan's expectations. For the first time, Michael realized the relationship lacked mutual respect. He had been giving constantly while receiving little in return. The Stoics believed that healthy relationships are built upon virtue. Virtue includes honesty, fairness, gratitude, and respect. Manipulation undermines all of these qualities because it treats people as tools rather than equals. A manipulator views relationships as opportunities for personal advantage. They focus on what they can gain rather than what they can contribute. This mindset eventually creates resentment, exhaustion, and conflict. As Michael reflected on the situation, he began noticing details he had previously ignored. Ryan often exaggerated difficulties to gain sympathy. He frequently portrayed himself as a victim. He rarely accepted responsibility for mistakes. Most importantly, he seemed uncomfortable whenever attention shifted away from his own needs. These behaviors formed a pattern that was impossible to ignore. Epictetus taught that no person can control us without our permission. While external pressure may exist, our responses remain our responsibility. This realization changed everything for Michael. Instead of feeling trapped by guilt, he began focusing on reason. He evaluated requests objectively. He asked whether his actions were genuinely helpful or simply enabling unhealthy behavior. This shift allowed him to reclaim control over his decisions. The first time Michael firmly declined an unreasonable request, Ryan reacted exactly as expected. He implied that Michael was being selfish. Yet something interesting happened. Michael remained calm. He did not argue. He did not defend himself. He simply maintained his boundary. For the first time, emotional pressure failed to achieve its intended result. In the weeks that followed, Ryan's behavior changed noticeably. Without easy access to influence, his interest in the friendship began fading. The constant requests became less frequent. The visits became less common. Eventually, the relationship grew distant. While this outcome saddened Michael initially, it also revealed an important truth. Genuine friendships survive healthy boundaries. Manipulative relationships often do not. As Ryan's presence diminished, peace gradually returned to Michael's home. Family conversations became more relaxed. Emotional tension decreased. Decisions were no longer influenced by guilt or pressure. The household felt lighter, calmer, and more authentic. Michael realized that protecting his peace required more than locking his doors at night. It required being selective about who gained access to his life. Many people encounter individuals like Ryan. They may appear charming, generous, and supportive at first. Yet over time, they reveal a pattern of emotional control. They use guilt, fear, sympathy, or obligation to influence others. They expect special treatment while offering little in return. Their presence often leaves people feeling exhausted, confused, or pressured. These are warning signs that should never be ignored. Stoicism does not teach us to hate manipulators. It teaches us to understand them. Hatred only creates more emotional disturbance. Wisdom, however, allows us to recognize unhealthy behavior without becoming consumed by anger. We can remain respectful while maintaining firm boundaries. We can be compassionate without surrendering our freedom. We can help others without allowing ourselves to be controlled. Your home should be a sanctuary where honesty, trust, and mutual respect thrive. It should be a place where people feel valued rather than pressured. A manipulator threatens that environment because their influence often creates tension and uncertainty. Protecting your home therefore requires protecting your independence. The moment you surrender your judgment to emotional pressure, you begin sacrificing the very peace you seek to preserve. The Stoics understood that a calm life depends on wise choices. One of the wisest choices you can make is deciding who deserves access to your personal space. Not everyone who appears friendly has good intentions. Not everyone who seeks your help deserves unlimited access to your time and energy. True wisdom lies in recognizing the difference. If this lesson has helped you better understand the importance of boundaries, subscribe to the channel and join our growing community of Stoic thinkers. Together, we explore timeless